Hi guys, this is a short video to kickstart a kind of video I've thought of doing for a while now. Random thoughts and ideas that don't quite fall under the epithet of review. While I try to be as objective as I can with reviews, here's where what I say is probably going to be mostly subjective. A few of you have asked or written me about the Nanmu versus the W Dragon Allosaurus, and what could be more subjective than comparing two models and arriving with my personal opinion. Now, some time ago, I asked you what were some deciding factors if you had to choose one model of the same genus between two manufacturers. And many of you very kindly gave me your decision-making points, so I'm going to use them to compare these two models. First, we have detail. Both are very detailed as far as the sculpt goes. Now you can see that the obvious draw, which is the head, is not given short shrift in either of these models. The scalation, the teeth, the skin texture, each has its own uniqueness, neither of which is objectively superior. If you like a more wrinkly, scaly texture, you'll give the point to the W Dragon. If you like a greater variety of texturing, including something more speculative, such as these crocodilian scutes here, as well as these little osteoderms on the spine, then you'll go for the Nanmu. For me, I prefer the Nanmu. Next, we have accuracy. Now, some of you mentioned head sculpt was important, and I put this under accuracy, even though it also straddles detail. My perception is that the Nanmu represents Allosaurus jimetsoni, while the W Dragon is more Allosaurus fragilis, so I'll compare these two to their respective skulls. Now both are shrink-wrapped, so the fenestrae are obvious. The lateral temporal fenestra of the Nanmu looks to me to be the wrong shape, which should be almost like a keyhole, plus or minus some overlying soft tissue. The W Dragon looks a little odd to me, with this keratinization that cuts into the side of the head. If I try to relate it to underlying structure, then it would seem to outline the margin created here by the squamosal. If so, how it defines the lateral temporal fenestra here makes it not just the wrong shape, but also the wrong level. Now in terms of the hands, one defining character is the enlarged thumb claw. The Nanmu has it, but not the W Dragon. Finally, the feet. Quasiness, you specifically mentioned feet sculpt was important to you, and I subsumed that under the category of accuracy. I feel that the feet are too big on the W Dragon. Not just the surface area, but the length as well. So for accuracy, I'd go with the Nanmu. Next we have price. Now since many of my viewers are from the US, I'll go with the US price. The Nanmu averages $55 US, while the W Dragon averages about $70 US. So the Nanmu takes it here. Then we have the scale. Allosaurus fragilis has been estimated to be between 8.5 to 9.7 meters, that's 28 to 32 feet long. The W Dragon is 30 centimeters, or about 12 inches, making it between 1 to 28 and 1 to 32 scale. So on average, 1 to 30. Allosaurus jimetsoni has been estimated to be between 8 to 9 meters, that's 26 to 29 feet. Now I apologize, I realized too late that I'd used the estimate for fragilis in my Nanmu Allosaurus review. So with this correction in mind, that puts the Nanmu between 1 to 24 and 1 to 26 scale, so on average 1 to 25 scale. So the W Dragon 1 to 30th scale, the Nanmu 1 to 25th scale. So this is going to depend on what you prefer. For me, since my whole collection is already a mix of scales, it makes no difference. So a draw here. Color scheme. Now both these colors differ in intent. The W Dragon is more conservative, while the Nanmu is intended to be eye-catching and striking. Bright colors with an accenting streak isn't something you associate with large predators, but here it is. Personally, based on color, I would go with Nanmu. Now, keep calm in dinosaurs, you specifically mentioned sensible coloration, which is a layer above what just looked nice. Now both of these could make sense depending on the habitat you imagine your Allosaurus to be in. But if I consider the preponderance towards drab colors for large animals, the need to be less conspicuous when predating, and the highlighting of these two possible sexually attractive lacrimal horns, with nothing here in the Nanmu. Now for you, I'd go with the W Dragon. Then we have the pose. Both are active poses. The Nanmu I imagine to be slightly more leisurely, and I love the off-kilter pose. The legs are also positioned more naturally, I feel, than the W Dragon. The W Dragon has a sense of urgency, as if it was in the process of hunting, running alongside some sauropod before going for the kill. I like both of these, so it's a draw for me. And finally, Bermudasaurus 303, you use the word aesthetics, and that's really an interesting concept that I'll end this video on. Aesthetics is obviously pretty subjective, but for me, includes almost every quality we've talked about. The pose, the color, the attitude, and the detail. But yet there's more. When you talk about how something makes you feel, there's an ineffable something that makes what's aesthetically pleasing more than the sum of its parts. Now, leading up to this video, on some days the Nanmu is more aesthetically pleasing for me, while on the other days I prefer the W Dragon. But today, if you threaten to beat me to within an inch of my life, I'd actually say the W Dragon. For all its inaccuracies, the wrong skull, the lack of the large thumb claw, the odd positioning of the thighs, the rather dull coloration compared to the eye-catching scheme on the Nanmu. Something just speaks to me about the attitude, the activity, the raw energy in this dinosaur, the primal feel of an animal on the hunt, on which the total score has no effect. So in sum, if I had to choose one today, I'm going with the W Dragon. Now a couple of you Dynamo-saurus, and Massimiliano Petrica. In your reply, you wrote just one word, PNSO. And of course, I'm sure you all know that PNSO has finally come up with its own Allosaurus, which might actually render the whole process moot. If PNSO again delivers with its characteristic adherence to the signs, the beautiful paint application, the texture and detail it's mastered in the Parasaurolophus, and if you can get only one, that might be the one. We'll just have to wait and see.